everyone. Welcome to the Busted Knees and Pretty Trees podcast. I am Travis J. White, and we're back for another quite special episode of our favorite boys babbling about the backcountry. As you know, I'm with boy number one. To be clear, that number is not an indication of value or rank. But that being said, Brad did text me today asking if I wanted a loaf of bread or some bagels or cinnamon rolls. And there's something else.
Pizza dough, pan or hand tossed or thin crust.
Yeah.
You can get your choice.
And I was sitting in the truck with Debbie as soon as I got that text, and I was like, take a look at this. What do you want? And it took a while because she was like bagels, and I was like, there's so many more options with the loaf of bread.
I feel like the loaf of bread, that's what I would choose.
Yeah.
It's the hardest to make and get right and good.
I chose the loaf.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
I helped her make that decision.
Guided her.
Also, boy number one, because there just isn't a boy number two. He's certainly not a number two. He's been the wind keeping our pirate ship at full sail, and his enthusiasm keeps morale at peak levels. You just want to hug him, but he's kind of sickly right now.
Yeah.
And you can maybe hear it if Brad doesn't edit it out. Patty Richardson.
Hey, yo. Yeah, I'm a little bit stuffed up right now, a little bit under the weather, but I'm a couple glasses of whiskey in, and I plan on taking it through the night and seeing where the wind blows me.
All right.
Yeah.
The way he said that sounded funny.
It's going to blow you
sound
right
snotty?
to your bed.
The way the wind blows me.
Straight to my bed after 2 NyQuil and 4 whiskeys.
Yes, sir. That's not all. We have a special guest today, and we're all very excited to talk with him. Patty, Brad, and I have covered many miles on the trail over the years, but not like this true blue trailblazer. He's also an actor and singer. He graduated magna cum laude with a BFA in music theater from Illinois Wesleyan. He's toured the U.S. and Canada for the second national tour of Jersey Boys, guest starred on NBC's Law & Order, and most recently played Sasha in Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish. We are delighted to have fellow Hoosier Jonathan Cable. How in the world did Patrick get you down here?
Yeah. Awesome.
I don't think I've ever heard my biography read out in front of me. That was like a moment in life. I feel like kind of gross about
It's like your
it.
Wikipedia page.
Oh, that was the verbal red carpet being laid out right in front of you.
I feel so regal.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Oh my God.
And like that didn't even mention your backpacking accomplishments.
No.
Which
Wait,
are nothing to tout.
I think that's why I was most surprised by it. I thought we'd be talking about the hiking that I've done. But man, how did Pat get me here? We went to high school together, probably about 40-minute drive from where we sit. And it just happened to be that I'm in Goshen, like about an hour from here, doing a show with my aunt. And it's been a really fun moment to reconnect with old friends. And I had talked with Pat on the phone maybe a month ago after I finished a long hike of mine, and he mentioned that, and actually Kylie also, our friend, mentioned that you guys have this podcast, and sounded like something I'd love to sit and talk about all night. So, and while we drink whiskey, so
Yeah, why not spend an evening talking backpacking? And
Pat and I were good close friends back in high school, and it's been a long time since we've gotten to sit and talk, and so it's really fun to get to reconnect.
damn right, cheers.
Cheers.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you so
welcome
much.
Down.
So, Patrick, what?
Oh. Unless you had something important to say.
Well, I wanted to know what Patrick thought qualified Jonathan to be on our podcast.
So when we were on the phone, well, first I went to a party, a little hangout with some old high school friends, and Kylie, our friend that Jonathan just spoke of, put me in contact with Jonathan, saying that he's a backpacker, that he's into the same kind of things that I'm into. So she called him that night or something along those lines. And in my drunken kind of what the fuck is going on right now, Jonathan ended up on the phone with me, and we were just chit-chatting for a little bit, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing some stuff. He was out. I think you were somewhere near Canada at that time, right?
You know where I
Something
was
like that.
when I talked to you? I was I was on my way to the Nashville airport. I was taking a break from my hike.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, I was mid Pacific Crest Trail.
Yep, that's right. And I mean, what better person? An old friend, somebody to hang out with. He said he likes bourbon. Another reason. So now we're down here.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit earlier, and you definitely have some stories to tell on the trail. That's for sure.
I do. Yeah.
So what a perfect guest. I'm thrilled to have you here. We all are.
Thank you so much.
And we can't wait to hear those stories. But the News Panther interrupted us. Sorry. What do we call him? Walt?
Sounded pretty sexy,
Yeah,
that
Walt.
Panther.
Yeah. Walt
He
the News
does
Panther.
have a sexy role.
Yeah, I don't think we've determined whether the News Panthers in heat or not. So
I don't think I gendered them.
I don't know if I'd have that conversation. But lay it on us, Brad. Let's go.
the first story is an update from a previous story that we talked about. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear Utah's public land challenge, striking a major blow to the state's effort to wrestle millions of acres of public lands away from the federal government. So if you guys don't remember, just a quick refresher, in August of 2024, the state of Utah filed a lawsuit asking the Supreme Court to declare the federal government's ownership as unconstitutional.
Huh.
Yeah.
Did we talk about this in an earlier podcast, like anticipating the jurisdiction of it?
Yeah. Yep. I can't remember what episode it was, but there were 7 other states that signed on to it, or they filed an amicus brief,
Okay.
just kind of tagging along, saying like, we agree with this, we think it should happen.
Amicus?
Amica, yeah.
Man, I said the same way.
Yeah, you did. You messed
That's
that up
so
before.
funny. Like when we did the initial episode, I said amicus.
Amicus. Amicus.
Sounds like a flower.
And I'm not
Yeah, it
even.
does.
And I'm
Like
not even.
something in your shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, I tore my amicus.
And I'm not even reading it this time. I drew that from memory. It's much
Oh, boy.
But yeah, so they filed along just saying like, hey, we agree with this. We don't think unappropriated federally owned lands are constitutional. And going straight to the Supreme Court, skipping all the lower courts, has only happened, it's happened less than 200 times since the founding, beginning of the Supreme Court.
Huh.
The political leadership of Utah expressed their disappointment in the court's decision, but noted the decision does not prevent them from starting at lower federal district courts, which is the normal path you would take. Start at a federal district court and then appeal up to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, there should be
time.
kind of a process.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
You can't just go to the nation's leading court
Yeah.
and plead your case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're skipping bosses there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's more of an emergency situation, like an election. The Gore-Bush 2000 election with the hanging chads, that's one of the 200 cases that have gone straight to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a real
Like
big
time
deal, right?
sensitive.
I'd like to see how many cases Trump has taken straight to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because that might be high.
Yeah, I bet.
Well,
Or his administration or something.
speaking of that, the leadership, and I'm talking like governor, secretary of state, House Majority Leader of the Utah Congress, they said, we are also heartened to know the new administration shares our commitments to the principle of multi-use for those federal lands and is committed to working with us to improve land management. So it's, they're almost kind of like we lost, but we're still going to be able to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
May. Federal lands, it's pretty well protected. So I think it's pretty hard to overcome the obstacles to file. Even like getting a permit to drill, I think is pretty hard. And I don't think there's a quick way to short circuit that and get straight to drilling. So it's a case, it may be over. It sounds like the state doesn't even know if they're going to file with local district courts, because this was kind of their shot was to go straight to the Supreme Court.
Can the state make money? Like they want the land to be state managed,
Yeah, because
basically.
then they can lease out
Yep.
Yeah.
land
So it's a
and-
money thing.
Yeah, and like they'll need to build roads, because right now they can't build roads.
They can't
to,
do
like,
anything.
a drill site,
Right.
so they
Yeah.
need to build infrastructure, and BLM wouldn't let them do that. So there's all kinds of shit that they can and like cattle grazing and all kinds of things.
That quote is just a bit ominous for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like that defeated. Like if you do care about the land and want the land to stay BLM, if that's your perspective, that quote doesn't necessarily set you at ease.
Yeah.
They're like something is there.
Kind of ambiguous at what it's really telling you.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And I'm sure there's a way to responsibly harvest fossil fuels and natural resources, but we have no reason to trust those companies that do that stuff.
I sure as shit don't.
We'll keep an eye on it, see where it goes. But what's kind of crazy is Utah budgeted $500,000 for lawyers to litigate this case and $2.5 million for a public relations campaign to convince people as to why BLM land should not be owned by the federal government. So that's Utah's taxpayer dollars, which maybe they're okay with. I'm not sure. But BLM land, it's a birthright as an American citizen. The federal government manages these lands in your behalf.
Yeah.
Like there are lands, public lands. So
They should stay federal.
yeah.
I would agree.
But it still is. It's kind of crazy. Imagine living in a state where 70% of the land is federal land, 30%.
Who cares?
It's kind of weird.
We all live in the United States. You just happen to live by a big
It's
chunk
a
of it that's federal
imaginary
land.
border.
You know?
Well, there's certainly a reason that all of these lands are being protected.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have designated them
Yeah.
What is
federal
the
lands.
reason? Like what is that?
Sometimes there's an environmental reason.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's like a monument region. Like sometimes there's a Native American reason. I mean, there's lots of reasons that lands are designated, parks or land management. But
There's a certain species of animals or flora or
ecologically, there's lots of reasons that, they'd like, why is, Mount Denali, or no, I guess it might be McKinley now, but why is that, like a federal designated, like protected, but like we have all these wilderness areas and forests, and there's a reason to protect all these places.
Right.
Just because a park service or a forest service didn't claim it doesn't mean it just means that service probably couldn't do anything with it. Because
but
it's still worthy of protection.
Because it's like even back in the 1800s when Utah, they were trying to become a state of the union. That was back when Brigham Young was, and like the Mormon, that was their like refuge, that they finally find a place where they can
Next to that
set down stakes.
salty water, you can have that.
So one of the things for them to become a state was the federal government said, this is the state boundary, but we own this land and you can never challenge that we own this land. And so like Utah signed, and I think Nevada is the same way because Nevada is like 80% federal land. But when they became states, it was like a known, this is what it is. Like this is federal land, this is state land. So.
Wow. So it goes that far back. That's
that
crazy.
Kind of makes me feel like it's different then. That kind of makes me feel like
it might be.
If it goes that far back,
there's something about that land,
or it was meant for.
It was
like,
just
to me, that was like the federal government saying, there's this huge expanse of wide open land. Eventually, we're going to take that over, and we're going to build whatever. I mean, we were land grabbing at that point, like tremendously.
Oh yeah, that was when the
when
the Homestead Act of 1862 went into effect.
Right. So in that case, like it almost seems like it has nothing to do with ecological reasons or flora and fauna. It has nothing really to do with any of that.
Yeah.
It's more just the government wanted it for themselves and not to give it to the state, which in my mind is kind of on the side of the state in a little bit of way.
Well, and sometimes it was strategic. Like they thought this, the first Continental Railroad, they had multiple paths that they were trying to choose from.
Oh.
So some of it was intentional. Like this could have been the route over the mountain pass.
Right. It just wasn't.
Into California.
But they never got back to it.
Yeah. There's all that's just one example. There's many different examples.
Or we're saving it for the aliens.
Yeah.
They claimed it.
Yeah. Area 52.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, there's the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance. doing the good work out there. They sued the Utah governor and attorney general for even bringing this case to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
And their goal with this lawsuit is just to say, like, you can't do this. Like, you need to stop. This is federal land. This is state land. There's no fighting it. Quit wasting taxpayer
Wasting our
dollars.
money.
Yeah.
Damn right, dude.
Yeah.
Suwa, let's get it.
The SUA's legal director, Steve, I don't know if it's Block or Blotch. We're grateful the Supreme Court swiftly rejected the state of Utah's misguided land grab lawsuit. For more than 100 years, the Supreme Court has affirmed the power of the federal government to hold land and manage public lands on behalf of all Americans.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very well put, Steve. Very well put.
I'm sure there's a bunch of people that would say that's.
Hey, can we get a round of applause
Stupid.
for Suwa?
Yeah.
Like, I'll give it up on
Yeah.
that.
There's always going to be somebody
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
fight it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to have those
Yeah.
groups, man. Just get out there and do the Lord's work.
Yeah. So we'll stay on top of that story. Keep an eye on it because it's pretty important. The second story is Saguaro National Park completes a project that sealed 150 abandoned copper mines.
Ooh.
Whoa.
These are like old mines, over 100 years old, piece of Americana, but they're also very dangerous because
Sure.
when I'm picturing these mines, I'm thinking of the opening scene of There Will Be Blood when Daniel Plainview has his mine and he falls down into it and breaks his leg.
Where they're just straight digging.
Yeah, it's just straight down.
with shovels.
Yeah.
I was thinking Indiana Jones Temple of Doom.
Yeah. That's probably about the same.
I don't know why.
Could you imagine doing that for a job?
So it seemed like the research that I did were these mines never really produced. Like they thought this mountain range was going to be a copper gold mine and they just never really produced because most of these mines were set up for like 5-10 years and just went bankrupt. And they produced 30,000 tons of copper, but it seemed like they just kind of ran dry pretty quick.
Huh.
Isn't copper pretty like valuable right now?
Oh, yeah.
People
Yeah.
are stealing shit from under cars and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Did they run out of copper? Did they run out of like an industrial method to keep, advancing
Well,
and getting more out of it?
like with that, what's interesting is a lot of these mines were mainly active during 1917, 1918, and 1941. What happened in those years?
World War I and
Yeah.
World War II.
Yeah. So of course,
So it's time to reopen the copper mines?
Yeah.
yeah, we're getting close. So they found over 210 total mines throughout this national park, and it's kind of funny because it seems like this has been known for a while. Because in 1970, a boy fell down a 40-foot mine, and there's also obviously like bobcats, a lot of wildlife fall down these mines.
How did they decide to, cover those mines? Did they cover them at all, or did they just
I think they
get out of town?
I think they always. Oh, you mean like the miners?
Well, when they abandoned them, how did they shut them off so children didn't fall down them?
No,
Or
that's
did
the
they
thi-
just not expect
That's the
people to
thing.
be out there?
It was kind of funny because this article that I was reading said the miners back then weren't following the leave no trace principles, and they just like pulled up stakes and left town.
That's
and
kinda-
it's literally just a huge hole in the ground, like a 40-foot deep hole in the ground.
Dang.
That'd be hard to leave no trace after you just dug into the mountainside.
And
So how did they shut them off this time?
it's
They blow them up?
no, they literally just like threw rocks and dirt in them and filled them up.
Okay. Well, that's,
Like I do my groundhog holes.
yeah.
But it's funny.
That's fine. You're not going to fall through that.
What's kind of funny about this story is so Don Swan
Don Swan?
is a biologist
Swan.
at Saguaro National Park, and he's the one that said like a lot of animals were dying in these holes. He talks about how they used the muscle of teenage youth to manually fill in the holes. So
What does that mean?
like they
Yeah.
They're throwing kids in the mine?
like a lot of these mines were
Oh, I see. I thought you meant to fill the holes.
no, like they're manual labor. Because most
Oh,
of these
you are
mines
talking
are
about
like
that.
off the beaten path, and they can't take a dump truck out there full
Oh,
of
shit.
Dude,
rocks and dirt.
that quote right there, young people get a chance to work outdoors and get some experience in a national park.
and get
Shoveling
Dirt and rocks
and
into
pushing
a hole.
rocks into a hole.
and
yeah.
get paid for it. And get paid for it.
Also, something else I wanted to say is if you're an animal and you're falling down a 40-foot mine, I kind of feel like you deserve to be down there.
I was
Aren't
wondering
their
that.
instincts usually pretty good? Like, don't
Especially-
jump down into
Yeah.
the dark hole.
Especially bobcats.
crazy.
Like that's what surprised me the most because cats like they take crazy leaps, but they know where they're going.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
We
it's
would
kind of
dig
weird.
foxholes and sleep in them, and you would wake up in the morning, and there would be spiders and like little mice. Just everything falls in holes out in the wilderness. That's just a small hole. Imagine a big mine.
Yeah, I wonder
Oh,
too if
jeez.
that's just not normal.
And there,
You know?
and maybe there's heat coming up from it.
It's very
so
unnatural,
It's
just
a warm
hole.
place.
It's just a
to
fucking
go.
hole that's 40 feet deep. That bobcat's never
Humans-
seen nothing
Who
like
doesn't
that.
love a warm
Humans
hole?
fucking fall in holes. Humans fall in holes all the time.
Yeah, Lord knows.
How many manholes have people fallen down? Tons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kid in 1970 sure did.
Yeah.
They they chose the 65 feet or deeper. They put cages or fences over the mine, which I was thinking like even if it's a 40-foot mine, wouldn't it be easier just to put a cage over the hole instead of filling the whole thing in?
No, dude, you got to fill that thing.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
mean, 40 feet. I mean,
A cage has holes in it.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty fun to throw rocks down a 40-foot hole too.
fuck yeah.
Is there anything that's going to come out of that mine if you don't plug it up? Is there like,
Oh.
Yeah, thank you for asking, John. Some of them are habitats for bats. So that's when they wanted to make sure they put like cages to where the bats can still come and go, but they can still have their home. So
What about gas?
there's no like
gases?
toxic chemicals that are seeping out of these mines?
no, I think
It's not
this mining
environmental.
was so old school that they were literally just chiseling away at the rock and not
Oh.
this.
Carrying it out in buckets.
So real quick on Saguaro National Park, because it is kind of cool. Patty keeps talking about wanting to do a desert hike, so
Here we go.
it could be in Saguaro National Park.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, man.
We'll get into
Hopefully
it.
John can talk Patty out
I
of that.
fucking hate hiking in the desert.
Oh, man.
Hell yeah.
Seems like it's, yeah, there it is, dude.
So Saguaro National Park is southeastern Arizona, 92,000 acres. It has two separate areas. One is in the Tucson Mountain District, and 10 miles west of Tucson is the Rincon Mountain District.
Ugh.
So it's kind of two separate. I think, isn't North Cascade National Park the same? There's like north,
Yep.
and then there's a separate one south of that.
Yeah, it's really big.
Yeah.
Like all the way up to the North Cascades are up in Washington, and then you're still in Cascades all the way like into California.
Hell yeah. The one distinct thing about this park, which I'm kind of bummed because I've been in Tucson, Arizona, and didn't know there was a national park 10 miles away, or else I would have went. I was young and naive back in those days. They have really, really tall cactuses, and they're saguaro cactuses. That's what they're
Yes,
called.
they
That's
are.
they're what the park's named after. In our show notes, we'll post a pic to an article, but there's a picture of a dude standing next to one,
Oh my God.
and he might as well like,
Insane.
That's so big.
That
yeah,
is so big.
we're
she
maybe
said.
100 feet tall. Like that thing is huge.
It's a cactus.
Yeah.
It's freaking, yeah.
It's like your normal Western cowboy cactus, but it's like 80 feet tall.
That's what I want to see, something like that, Patrick.
The
Well,
redwoods
I'm
of the
the one
desert.
that wants to go to the desert.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Me too.
You're crazy.
I am.
I
We're crazy.
Yeah.
think that might be all I have on that national park.
No, that was good, dude. I'd be interested to know more about those mining caves or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
They got to do
I
something.
think it's
about
all
it,
over
right?
the West. I think they're all over the West.
Well, dude, I just want to know like how frequent are they? Like, was it because I'm sure that those are just like private entrepreneurs that are going out there
Yeah.
with a chunk of money from the East, and they're like, I think this place is going to be golden or
And it's
copper
the
or
same thing.
whatever.
Like it goes back to the Homestead Act. Like
Yeah.
you could just go out there and set up stakes, and if you maintain that land and increase its value over the next 5 years, you owned that. It's like 150 acres or something.
Yeah, I could see where they wouldn't fill these in though. Where it's just some dude that just lost his entire family fortune.
Back in the day,
to a
Just get the hell out of town.
You're like, fuck it, I'm out
Just go up the Deadwood, drink some whiskey.
forever.
Yeah.
there was no rule.
Man, that's a great show.
Yeah.
That was a great
yeah.
show.
It's a great show.
Well, let's get more into some of Jon's stories.
All right, let's get moving. I'm anticipating this being a two-parter because off mic, we couldn't shut the hell up. Jesus, we could not shut the hell up.
Ain't that for real?
Yeah,
Again, I want to thank you, Jonathan, for coming along with us.
it's my pleasure.
And your CV is stacked, and I definitely want to hear more about life and show business. But this is a podcast about being in the outdoors. So we're trying to come up with a question that we want to ask all of our guests that kind of tells us what really ultimately brought you to the outdoors.
Yeah, that's a big question because there's so many layers to it.
Yeah,
you know, like there's that just the outdoors nature and the connecting with outdoors and like finding your place in the world and in this existence, and getting away from what life has become, how far away we are from what being an animal is supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when you get out there, you know, whether it's for your first day hike or, a little overnight or whatever, or like the second you just, everyone knows when they get out into nature, there's something that's important here.
Something
You know?
changes.
Something changes. Something's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And it puts life in perspective. It puts us in perspective, and you remember how small we are and how insignificant we are, and how all of our little squabbles are like so silly. If you just have food and shelter at the end of the day, like what else do we really need? Like if we can be content and
Pills for
healthy and
depression.
like right, but we have created like so many stresses and pressures and expectations and
Unnatural things.
and like with we are in the intelligence age. Like we are being subjected to an incredible like new experience for our species that we're dealing with like as we encounter it. Like it's a completely new world that we've never experienced, and so like we're probably in a new evolution of our species that like who knows where. Anyway, so you get out into nature and you start to just think about these things and how complex we've made things, and I don't know, there's something special about it.
Like you see all the area that man hasn't changed or touched or like it's, and you're kind of back on your own.
The effect that we are having on the earth.
Yeah. Once you said how small you feel, that's kind of the thing that always draws me back. That's always like the feeling that I consistently have is when you're standing underneath that mountain, or last episode we were talking about when the shadow starts coming over and you just feel this like ominous presence of the sun is gone now. There isn't that safety blanket on you.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just,
There's a beauty and
there's a
like
beauty,
sort of a
fear.
sinisterness to
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
and that kind of keeps like edging you a little closer to it. And I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to do it longer, or whatever it is.
It's also like a self-sufficiency and like how far can I go in this life? Like what can I experience? There's so many diverse, incredible things to see on this planet.
Oh yeah.
And the more capable you are of like getting out away from like the civilization that we've created, like the higher you go, like it's how like what are you capable of going to see in this life?
Yeah. That's a great way to say that. What are you capable?
Like I want to climb
see?
Denali. Like my goal is to add mountaineering onto this, to like start climbing glaciers, and then to climb Denali and like get up to this like pristine Arctic, like just nothingness, where there's just sun blaring on frozen water crystals, built like stacked on top of rock, like just nothing else can go there.
Yeah.
I guess that's my obsession. Or that's one reason that draws me back to it. It's it's like scuba diving. It's like, are you capable of putting yourself underwater and just like going down where, these fish live? And
that is, I've never thought
the other
about
side
that.
of it.
Like that is a really good way to compare it.
You're putting on a scuba tank, yeah.
Because you're not in your world anymore. Like you're in a different world.
Yeah.
You have to take your
Underwater.
resources with you.
Yeah.
In a different way. I mean, it's two different ways to like explore the lengths of
scuba diving. No.
No, you're not good at it?
Nah.
Oh, dude, it's so cool.
I don't want to do it.
It's so cool.
I would love to do it.
It terrifies me.
Oh, man.
So it sounds like you have quite a bit of experience in the backcountry, enough to keep drawing you back out there. But where did you start? What was that first? I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast.
Yeah.
We've all had that initial moment that kind of dragged us in, and it was like you're never leaving the grip of this backpacking experience. So what was yours?
So for me, I was into day hikes and wherever if I'd go on a vacation with my family or friends or something, or I was on tour, but part of that was going and doing day hikes. Let's go find a hot springs. Let's go find a mountain we can climb. Working at a theater in Colorado. I want to go climb up to 13,000 feet and see what that feels like to live, to exist and try to breathe in thin air. I guess it's a desire to want to experience,
Yeah.
And you like the challenge of it.
And I love the physical challenge of what am I capable of pushing through? What is my edge?
Yeah.
And I've found it a couple of times. We can tell those stories. What kind of cold are you willing to endure?
Yeah.
To the point that you're freezing, doing push-ups in the middle of the night to stay alive.
You like
basically,
to push the limits.
I don't know if I don't love to exist on the limits, but I really like learning. I really like having the knowledge of having been to that point and coming back.
Okay, yeah.
I think the closest I've ever been to death was 2 nights on the Appalachian Trail.
Really?
Where I literally was up in the Smokies. And so I guess I should start at the beginning. Let me answer the question that you asked from the beginning.
What was the
Before I get
change from day hiking to backpacking and then backpacking to doing through hike?
It was during COVID, and I was in New York City living the COVID life where we were just in our apartments, at least I think
Playing Madden.
Yeah, playing Madden. I think during COVID, for people that didn't live in big cities, you don't know how isolating. I mean, it was isolating for everyone.
Yeah.
But if you're surrounded by people that are in a building with you, but you're just hiding in your little box of an apartment, it feels, and you can't go into your backyard.
Sounds surreal.
It was like a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
There was a day that so in New York City, I lived up in Harlem, and I had a bike, and so I could get. I lived in West Harlem, and I could get over onto the West Side Highway, and I would bike anywhere you wanted. But I would go down during COVID to the West Side, 59th Street, and the West Side Highway is just always crazy traffic. And during COVID, there was one day at 5 o'clock in the middle of rush hour, and I should have taken a picture, but I stood in the middle of West Side Highway, and there was no one coming for minutes.
Yeah.
There was just no traffic. And I was like, it's like the opening of Morning Show.
Yeah.
The first season, when they have all of these incredible shots, like the beginning of what was the Kevin Spacey DC drama?
DC. House of Cards.
House of Cards. It's like that.
The Will Smith. The Will Smith Apocalypse in New York City.
Yeah. Is it End of Days? No. I Am Legend.
Yes.
But yeah, those just shots of a huge city, and there's millions of people here, and no one is visible anywhere.
Newspapers blowing
So
up.
anyway.
And there's still 8 million people there.
Yeah, a bunch of people. But people are hiding. So I was in New York during COVID, and I started needing to get outside. And some friends and I would go upstate to the Adirondacks, and we started backpacking or doing like canoe in camping, where like you could pile your stuff into a canoe, you paddle out to a campsite, and we stayed there for like 3 days. Oh my God, there was this crazy storm that came through. And like, I don't know, the first time you camp outside in a storm, it's like, are we going to be okay? Like, you're not supposed to be by trees in a fucking storm. And we're like surrounded by trees.
And I would think, are the canoes going to get flooded out and like drift downstream?
Yeah.
I just accept it. Like, if that tree's gonna fall, I hope it kills me.
Well, what's even scarier than after you've done that a couple times is to be at elevation in a storm. To be at elevation in a storm, the lightning is everywhere, and it's so loud, and you just know, like it. I was in the Sierras for a storm, and I was like running away. It was chasing me, and I was going across some passes trying to get to where I was going so that I could get low. And I knew about when the storms were coming, but this whole time the storm was like. It must have been 2 or 3 miles south of me, judging by no. Whatever. Like I was aware, I was listening to the lightning, and I could tell like how far south the lightning was.
You count the seconds. Right?
Yeah, you count the seconds. Yeah. But it was never like worrisome. But I got down finally into the bottom of the pass when you're surrounded by lakes and trees, which is not what you want to be surrounded by. But as long as you're in a pack of trees, like. That's when you're safest. But I was surrounded by a bowl of like cliffs, like a bowl, like an edge of mountains. And so you just like every 5-10 seconds in the middle of the storm, the mountains around you are getting hit by lightning, and it's so loud, and it echoes across the rocks.
Oh man.
It's so powerful.
That sounds like glorious.
I want to be there. Yeah.
Kind of scary.
But like scary when you're in the moment.
All of
it. Nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But
Could you imagine why people would be like putting their hands up to the gods,
Yeah, jeez.
So then, what was your first big backpacking trip?
So I keep getting sidetracked because
You're okay.
but no, I know, but
I want to know
just
where this bowl is. I want to go there.
Yeah. But let's get to the backpack.
Man, go hike the JMT. It's one of the most spectacular
John
places
Muir
I've
for
been.
president.
That's for this year. We're doing Ray Lakes Loop is the plan.
Dude, you won't be sorry. Yeah. It's incredible.
Nice.
Nice. I was in New York. I was getting out of the city during COVID to start getting outside. And then I kind of like randomly just walked. We were on the Appalachian Trail on one of these hikes that my friends and I were on in the Hudson River. Anthony's Nose was what the hike was called.
It is kind of interesting. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, you're good.
Doing a lot of day, like in the whole Appalachian Range, day hikes usually do seem to intercept the AT, and you see the white blazes, and you're like, oh shit, this is the AT. That's cool.
Yeah, because there's so many great day hikes that you could go on the Appalachian Trail, and it's great protected, outdoor space that lots of people go to.
That's awesome.
There are a lot of very regularly visited areas, like in Mountain Washington, the Shenandoah National Park, like all along the Appalachian Trail, and so people know about it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the same way. So anyway, I was on this hike, Anthony's Nose, and we were, right by the Appalachian Trail, and I went home that night, and this was like mid-July of 2020. I went home after that day hike, and I just like went down a rabbit hole of what is the Appalachian Trail? Where does it go? What are the logistics of hiking it? And I just like kind of studied it up for like 3 hours that night. And I texted my friend. I was like, hey, I just went down this rabbit hole of the Appalachian Trail. And he said, uh-oh.
Uh-oh is right.
And I just started buying shit from REI and putting together a gear list. And
You were 100% going to do it?
Because no, I knew it. I felt at that point, we knew that theater wasn't coming back for a good while.
Because you, like at the time you were...
I was an actor and I was waiting for a job. I was in Jersey Boys off Broadway in New York City. I had just joined the cast a month before COVID shut us down.
Wow.
But so I knew that at least I had a job to come back to, where I was hoping the producers were going to hire us all back, and they did. They hired everyone back that were in the show when it shut down. But I had a feeling I had a job to come back to, so I didn't need to scramble to figure out what the next phase of my life looked like while this, global catastrophe trauma was going on.
Yeah, you got a little bit of free time.
But I had some free time, and so I just I got this idea and I started planning it. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go see, I'm just on a whim. I'm going to go see if I can do this. Yeah. It was really exciting.
And not only that, I think it's interesting that you decided north to south, which is the harder.
It wasn't that I chose
travel,
it.
right?
It was just that's the time of year it was, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And it's the same way that I've managed to hike both the PCT and the Appalachian Trail. It's just been the timing of how it worked out. And then I was like, okay, well, it's middle of July. This is the direction I have to go. But also, like, Thru-Hiking is an incredible physical endeavor. And one good reason to hike the Appalachian Trail northbound from Georgia to Maine is that your body gets to warm up in much more forgiving territory.
Yeah.
The elevation change in Maine and New Hampshire on the Appalachian Trail is the steepest of the entire hike. So if you're a person who's a thru hiker but is not in, like, maybe you don't do physical activity as a regular part of your life, which there are many of, northbound is a great way to go. And also northbound on both the Appalachian Trail and the PCT is a very social experience. There are a lot of people trying to get those permits, and so there are many people hiking in the same direction. Like I think the Appalachian Trail does about 3,000 actual thru hikes each year total.
Wow.
Like in terms of actually completing it, that's, then there's a lot more people on it doing day hikes.
That's a larger number than I would have guessed. 3,000 people do the whole thing each year.
I think so.
That's a kind of a nobody else. Like, that's not. No, it's kind of substantial.
It's kind of around where I thought it would be.
I think
3,000 people a year walk 2,160 miles or something.
Like
along those
20,000 probably start. Like, there's probably a shitload that try.
Well, even 20,000 is a lot of people to me that even like start that whole thing.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I feel like that are
like
fuck it, this year I'm doing it.
That's
20,000 people.
That's like a Fort Wayne Comets sold out stadium.
Yeah, that's true. So how many people, like, out of those 20,000, how many people are starting?
I just
from
made
the
that
north to the
number up,
south?
by the way. I don't know if it's 20,000.
Well, let's just
I don't know off the top of my head. I could look up the stats, but my sense is that less than a third are hiking southbound.
Right. Okay.
Maybe even closer to a quarter, but I don't know. There were, but then also this was a COVID year that I hiked the Appalachian Trail.
So it was busy.
No, the opposite.
Really?
There were
I would have thought busy.
Well, here's
outside.
Here's one
That's
good.
true. That's that first year. That's for sure, dude.
I can't remember the name. Here's one good way they judge it is there's a ferry across a river in Maine, and I can't think of the name of. It's a K name. I want to say Kearsarge, but that's a different name that for some reason is jumping into my name into my brain.
Very specific name.
Kearsarge. I don't know if that's the name of the river, but anyway, there's a canoe ferry that goes across a rapidly moving river, and it's downstream of a dam, and so they intentionally like run this ferry to get hikers back and forth. And so they keep a tally of how many hikers come through.
Is it the Kennebec?
Yes, thank you. The Kennebec River. There's a ferry, a canoe, a guy in a canoe that just ferry. I don't know. It's like $9 or $3 or I don't know what, but you pay him and
the nickel and dime. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'll tell you what.
No, that's awesome. I think that's cool.
I think we pay for it. I can't remember it. But I can't imagine a guy going out in a canoe and just like ferrying people across, without charging.
Yeah.
But
That'd be awesome.
but anyway, the COVID year, I remember they had closer to 900 total ferries across the river, as opposed to usually they have maybe 25 to 3,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I guess Travis is right. Like, I keep thinking maybe that second year or that 8 months down the road, but that first like
people got
summer
inspired
when when COVID was going on, I think didn't it start like really in the spring, and then that summer it was
everyone was trying to get outside, and they were sold out of like bicycles and outdoors gear.
So that's where I thought maybe it would be a hell of a lot busier. But let's get back to this. So I just want to be clear here. So my question was, what was your first big backpacking trip? And your answer was the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, right.
I thought that you have not backpacked before outside of a couple day hikes up Bleeding Nose or something, right? Right? Something like that?
Where's Bleeding Nose?
Or wherever you went, right? On your day hikes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was.
And then you went to, and then you did the Appalachian Trail.
Anthony's nose.
Anthony's nose. There we are.
Bleeding Nose sounds pretty cool.
Well, I was
Bleeding Nose would be a waterfall coming out of a mountain that looks like a nose. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Sounds like something you'd see in Yosemite, honestly.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So then what was like, I mean, man, that's such a leap. I'm just fascinated by the leap from not having doing it and going straight into that. But what was something that I guess you like really took from that as your first trip ever? Because I mean, my first trip was like maybe 2 nights or 3 nights out in Red River Gorge.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know that I took a fuckload from that and like really started dialing things in and really understanding what I was going to be taking. And just the experience of just being out in the middle of nowhere and having to mentally kind of, even after 2 days, it starts to kind of get at you. So like, what was just like your major takeaways from doing that kind of a trip as your first time? Is that too hard? Is that too broad of a question?
No, I have a great answer, I think.
Okay, lay it in.
I'll never forget, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks or something into my hike of the Appalachian Trail in 2020, I was somewhere in Maine. I don't know. But I'll never forget, my brother, David, called me. And it might have been my birthday, honestly, because my 35th birthday was the day I crossed into New Hampshire from Maine.
Oh, damn. That's awesome.
It was a great birthday present. I had finished like the first 280 miles in 3 weeks. And I was
Some of
like,
the hardest miles.
Yeah, well, yes, some of, and then getting into like even harder miles in some way. But my brother asked, or he just said, he was like, so you're really doing this in a way that like kind of communicates like, yeah, this is a crazy thing to do.
And now you're that deep in it. Like you kind of committed yourself to it?
I've been here for 3 weeks. I'm starting to figure it out. I've already dropped some weight out of my pack. Like, but it's also, it's funny because people think of like, you tell someone, I thru-hiked a trail. I spent 4 months in the woods or whatever. And it's a crazy thought to someone who's never done anything like that.
Yeah.
But you get out there and it seems like this is the way life's supposed to be. Life is more simple than this thing that we've created that is our reality.
The simplicity of it is something that definitely draws me in. I don't worry about anything when I'm out there except for what's in my pack and where I gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're just out there appreciating the sun. You're like you're so connected to the variables that you're reliant on for like your comfort and I don't know, your day to day. That like it's just like that's how simple life can be. If the sun is just out and it's, you know, more than 50 degrees, like how nice it is, and less than like 65.
Yeah.
You know, if we can have a 15-degree spread with no wind, preferably.
And you're still happy.
And you're it's the best.
It's funny. Me and Travis, the two biggest backpacking trips we've been on, it's been 65 and sunny every single day.
Oh, you're so spoiled.
It's kind of crazy.
One
I feel
day,
like
dude.
Someday we're going to get
One day the
wrecked.
heavens will smite us.
Yeah.
So yeah, the takeaway, is that what the question was?
Yeah.
The takeaway.
Yeah. What was, I just want to.
Why the hell did I do that?
Yeah, because I think every backpacker, their first trip has their thing that really drew them back to the next trip. And although your trip was about 2,000 miles longer than my first trip, I'm just curious as to what that takeaway, because you've done longer trips after that. So what was that thing after all that pain and suffering and all that? What was the thing that brought you back?
Yeah, and that's, I guess, what I was going to say, and I forgot the track that I was on. But my brother asked me, "So you're really doing this?" And it just, I had this realization that I wanted to go out and see what I was made of. I wanted to go out and really be by myself.
Yeah.
And I think to really, you've got a lot of time to think out there.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of time to think about your life and to think about what makes you the person that you are. And to learn about persistence, to learn about what you're capable of withstanding and continuing to push through to accomplish a goal.
Being self-sufficient.
Self-sufficiency is a huge thing. And to get away from just the constant dopamine feed of instant gratification on social media and food and all of the various things that are just we are
parts of your life that are micromanaged and
commodified for profit. I mean, companies are just constantly trying to pull money out of us, and to get away from it and to just be in nature, away from it all, and to feel the simplicity of that. There's something incredible about that, that I think many people find foreign and scary because they're so comfortable in this reality that, again, we've created for ourselves that's so fake.
Yeah.
I do think it's crazy. For me, it always kind of shocks me, and I don't realize it until after the fact, how quick I forget about my phone and or use my phone changes from something I'm always on talking to people to something that's just housing my maps and my satellite inReach or whatever messaging.
You still need it for life.
Yeah.
But you're not relying on it for dopamine and connection. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah, it's not a habit.
Tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool at that point.
It's more of a tool than...
Which is what it was meant to be. It's a fucking phone.
Yeah.
But I also think what that does for you, spending that much time out there, is you get a better appreciation for the luxuries you do have back in civilization. And, I think there's a lot of people out there that don't appreciate the things they have and how easy it is.
100%.
Oh, I agree. I always say that your first day out on trail is the best when you're just starting it and you're jazzed up and you're ready to go and do all those things. And then your last day and getting back to those amenities is because you do appreciate it. You do appreciate that warm shower. You do appreciate
a warm shower is so nice.
Oh, it's so nice.
We have a funny thing that happened when we were planning our last Grand Teton trip. Was I made a joke a warm shower would be nice. When we get off the trail, trying to plan where we're staying, whatever. And because we were talking about camping shit, and our friend Kirsten, who lives in Montana, was well, we could go to a hot spring. That's basically a warm shower.
Yeah.
I was well, shit.
It was awesome.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
My best night, this is skipping forward in my story, but my best night, maybe of hiking ever. Maybe ever.
Damn.
But at least on the Pacific Crest Trail was at a hot springs, and I'm going to forget the name of it right now, but it was my first night. I had just left the 15. My uncle had dropped me off at Cajon Pass, and it was about, 27 or 30 miles or something. That's what I was doing a day to get to this hot springs that everyone had recommended.
Yeah.
And I got there just before dusk. I had plenty of time because my uncle bless him, he got me to the trail at like 6 a.m.
Yes.
Which is hard to do. It's hard to get out of town when you stop in town. It's really hard to get out of town before like 9 o'clock. You're just having breakfast, and it's so nice to be in civilization for a moment.
Yeah.
But I stayed at this hot springs, and I was in this tub full of hot mineral water coming out of the ground for at least an hour and a half. I ate my dinner in there.
Oh, yeah.
I watched the stars come out. And this is after I had just been freezing my balls off. So who knew Southern California is so cold, but like in the desert up at those elevations, like it was also in the middle of a cold snap, but it was late November, early December, late November. And it was just so cold. I had no idea. There was I was falling asleep looking out at the valley of Los Angeles, and I was freezing in a 10-degree bag. But now I've jumped. Oh God!
Those hot springs, they
hot
do
springs.
have something special.
The hot springs are incredible.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It's wild.
They have healing properties.
I really enjoyed the hot springs we were in until my skin started boiling.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
From the bear spray.
Yeah, I had
Oh.
a can of bear spray explode underneath
Oh
me,
no!
and for about 20 miles or so.
So I don't think we've told this story on the pod yet.
Okay, we don't have to get into it hugely, but I
It
did
was
enjoy
hilarious.
those hot
Stay
springs.
tuned in future episodes
Yeah.
for stories of the bear spray
bear
explosion.
That
but
shot Patty in the eye.
but dude, those hot springs for that little bit was gorgeous. Like coming off that trail, and Kirsten, like he said, was just like, "Oh, I'll take you to I don't know about a hot shower, but a hot spring we got."
Yeah.
And it
Dude.
was awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That was so nice just sitting in those big pools. I mean, those
dude.
were like pools, and it was hot.
Yeah,
And
like
it
they
was
actually made
gorgeous.
swimming pools and pumped
Like
the-
next to like a creek. That's
like they
usually how it
pumped the hot
works.
springs into it.
Oh wow.
When all the through hikes, like a lot of the through hikes go through national parks, national forests.
Yeah.
What's the easiest, best to stay in? Like if you're going into a national park, do you ever think like, oh, there's actually going to be like bear boxes or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have more services. You're going to have, pit privies, which are great. It's great to not have to dig a hole. Like it's nice to walk into a room instead of like spend 10 minutes digging a hole in the ground.
There's preferences.
We
there.
just had a pretty big argument about would you rather have a shower or a toilet?
Yeah, if you
Oh.
could have the greatest
Like
thing,
a full on,
like full on,
Like,
shower
okay,
or
so
toilet.
in one day, I have to choose if I get a
yes.
bathroom or a shower.
No, you can
Like-
carry it with you.
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
trail.
yeah. It's portable.
You can use
Like,
it.
This is
it
hypothetical,
doesn't weigh
Jonathan.
anything.
But I don't have to carry the weight of it. Is
No.
that?
Technology
way.
is there.
Yeah, the technology is there, and it's a
You just, like,
gorgeous
press
morning.
You have a
Nice.
zero weight
You press a
pump
button
that
and it
creates
goes.
hot water.
Yes.
Ugh.
And there's actually a flush of the toilet.
Yeah.
No,
and a
I'm
flush.
taking a
And it
hot.
goes
Oh,
away.
I'm
Just
taking
a
a.
morning shit in the. Yeah, I
I'm
think it's
taking a
like
hot shower. I'm
coffee,
absolutely
hot
going
shower.
shower.
He's going
A
hot
hot
shower.
shower at the end of
Wow.
a day.
This is a house
because
divided again.
because here's why. That night in the fucking hot spring, it just changed my mood for like 2 days.
Wow, Brad was arguing
That
that
was
same
my-
thing.
And
You're
I
clean, you're
taken
hydrated.
I have dug a hole at like 15 20 degrees, but with a great view.
Yeah.
Like, and I was happy to be digging a hole because I had just finished a big climb. Like, you can warm yourself back up,
was
needing
my-
to take a shit for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But
That was
a shower will warm you up for a long
But there
time.
was a
Wow,
bidet,
that's
right?
exactly
Wasn't there
what
a
he
bidet
said.
in our toilet?
yeah. No, this is definitely a house divided.
Like that was my argument was when you go take a shower and you come back, you feel a million times better.
Yeah.
When you go take a shit, it doesn't matter what you're shitting in. you're gonna come back and feel the same either way.
For
Yeah.
me, it was just that nice morning shit where you're up, you just have your breakfast, you're sitting on something nice and straight,
Chilling.
just chilling for like 45 minutes.
This is the kind of interesting topics our podcast.
Yeah. Welcome to the
Well, and I've got to say, like, I am very guilty of like holding my shit until the last possible
So am
second, and it's terrible because
Yep.
you're just like, if I could just get to camp and dig a hole. You're just like trying to push it through, but then the shit is ready to come when it's ready to come, and if you've waited that long, you are frantically digging the hole while barely holding it in. It's really
every step of the way you're jogging it a little more loose.
It's like, oh, I don't know if this is actually leave no trace, but it's coming, so we got to do it.
Yeah, imagine over a few thousand miles. Like, that's bound to happen eventually.
Yeah.
It'll dry up.
Yeah.
We mainly do section hikes, like 40-mile hikes. Like we were saying, we're doing the Ray Lakes Loop.
Yeah.
And you kind of mentioned the John Muir Trail. Like, would you recommend, say, like top 3 section hikes that you would recommend?
Oh boy.
Can you even think of that?
Yeah, that's another tall order.
No, I think I can. I think in doing so, let me just say what my experience is. In 2020, I hiked the Appalachian Trail, southbound, in about 4 months. This last year, 2024, I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail in a little a little less time than it took me to hike the Appalachian Trail.
Is that normal?
Well, yeah, it's longer. The Appalachian Trail is 2093. I think it's 2000.
That rings a bell.
2093 miles. The Pacific Crest Trail is 2650. There's a lot more elevation on the Appalachian Trail. Did
really?
A lot more.
Is it because the desert at the beginning of the PCT that just kind of evens?
No, it's because the Appalachian Trail goes up and down so much steeply. They didn't. The Pacific Crest Trail is built as a mule trail. Like, you can take horses or mules along almost the entire Pacific Crest Trail.
Donkeys,
Yeah, Travis
so
has been a
that'd be
big fan of getting an ass to take with us.
That would be a dream.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it would be really cool to
got bad
hike
knees,
the
so.
Pacific Crest Trail on horses. To pack it, it would be really cool.
Be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
But then, so I've hiked those two, and before that, I was working on. So there's a thing called the Northeast 100, and some call it 111, some call it 115. There are 115 peaks that are above 4,000 feet or almost 4,000 feet. In New York, there's 4 that don't quite qualify, but they're part of the Adirondack 46, which are the New York 46. There's 46 peaks above 4,000 feet. And so there's 115 peaks in the Northeast that are 4,000 feet and above.
So is that like a badge? You do that, you get a.
They're all kind of like a badge. Like, if you get a triple crown, it's like, congratulations, here's a couple of certificates that say you hiked a really long way. Go fuck yourself. That's kind of the other side of it, is like, oh, you want to go walk? Oh, you want to go walk a long way? Congratulations. Like,
And it's usually the honor system. You just.
well, at the end of it, like, you're still the same person. Like, you've just learned some things.
Yeah.
You've just done some really hard shit.
Yeah.
I think you've learned a lot of things,
definitely
right?
But it's also just as
accomplishment.
It's as humbling as being as big as it is being a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, now what? Now what? So now you've walked a long way. Who cares?
Oh, yeah,
Like, you now go figure out the rest of your fucking life.
I see that.
You know?
Very humbled achievement.
Yeah.
I do have like
Because anyone could do it. Just go decide to walk a long way.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people would choose to do it.
Right.
But anyone could
Like-
fucking go do it.
Like they could.
Yeah.
But would they?
Right.
There's definitely a lot of people that wouldn't even. Like, hell no.
Well, and it's
Of
hard.
course.
Like I could probably do the AT, but it's do I want to make the sacrifices of like leaving my job? Like,
Family is the thing.
yeah,
It's
setting up.
You were in the perfect position to be able to do it too.
Yeah.
So that's like the lucky part of your existence, is that you were you found that hobby at that time
Yeah.
with that break.
Yeah.
And it was close-ish to you.
A lot of people do it young. A lot of people hike the Appalachian. Like I was with a lot of 25, 26-year-olds. Or there's a lot of, oh my God, you meet the most amazing people hiking. They're just incredible people.
I bet.
Especially on these through hikes, because I mean, the Pacific Crest Trail was the most international experience of my life. There were so many people from around the world, everywhere around the world, that come to hike the PCT because it's just like known all over the world as one of the best places to go on a through hike. It's in Europe, apparently, at least, having talked to some Germans and, Swiss people, like they don't let them camp. They don't let them tent. You can go, but you have to stay in huts. Like they don't want to let people camp in tents.
Damn.
So people come here and it's such an international experience. Like so many people from Asia.
That's what's great about our trails and national park systems, because they draw in so many people from all over the world to see our nation's beauty.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's a great reason to protect.
And are like have been able to set that aside to let people enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's
far,
taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've hiked those two, and I was working on the Northeast 115, and I've got 2 left in Maine in Baxter State Park to get all 100. So I'm at 113 of the 115 because I had climbed. I know.
Come on.
Well, what about the CDT?
So that would practically be the next one, but it's just like these other two. I didn't really plan them. They came to me when the time was right.
Yeah.
And I don't know when I'll hike the CDT, but I have this feeling that it will be some kind of capstone experience on my life. Like my next goal in life, this is kind of going outside the purview of this outdoors podcast, but like my next goal in life is to get my private pilot's license and transition my career from being an actor to being a pilot for the next 25 years, because that's something I've always wanted to do, and it's late in life to be doing it, and it's really expensive, and I don't really have the money, but it's kind of like hiking. Like I'm just going to start the journey and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the PCT, the new lesson that I've learned, because I just finished it like a month and a half ago, is that I trust myself, and I realize I have this newfound acknowledgement of how much I trust myself to just put myself in a situation and get myself through it. Because I don't know, I've survived near-death experiences. I've gone through planning and getting myself through others. Like you put yourself out there.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And,
like that's really hard to do. Like trust yourself. Like I've proven to myself that I can do this shit,
right? And
I'm gonna keep doing.
You guys have both done,
and it gives you more confidence when you get out of there.
Yeah, you guys have both done some kind of military service, right?
Yeah.
And that's it's similar. It seems like I met a lot of people on the trail who were either hiking at the time or were like trail angels who help hikers because they had hiked the trail before, and there was a lot of military veterans out there. And there seems a real parallel pursuit of that in like testing yourself.
Like one thing we always say,
a long way with a bunch of shit.
Yeah. Like I think it like beginning came from Travis, and I think it has military roots. As our saying is, embrace the suck.
Yeah,
like,
embrace absolutely.
The suck's the best part.
On the
And
Appalachian,
I think that's like a military thing.
Yeah.
On the Appalachian Trail, it's all you're always wet. Nothing ever dries because it's so humid. It's so humid out there that like, especially in like the rainier seasons, like you're just always wet every day. You're waking up every day and putting on wet clothes.
That's where everybody says just use a trash bag, like a contractor bag to. That's the only way you're going to keep anything dry.
No, right. If you want, right. And that's my setup. We're going to talk about this, I think, later. But
I think, for anybody wondering, like we're going to get into
the gear side.
Gear's a whole
Nitty-gritty.
nother episode, so we're
Yep.
probably going to have a
Yeah.
second part for that.
But yeah, just
darn
logistically speaking, like you can have a very light backpack setup with a frameless backpack and a compactor bag, or like on lightsmith.com, you can get like tiny little plastic bags that will keep all your shit dry, and just have like everything else outside of it. That's a really good setup.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like most about like being out in the backpacking community, being on those trails, getting ready to get on the trail, coming off the trail, is those trail towns, those hostels, those places
yeah.
where kind of all your like-minded people are at. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to ask you, like, do you have any kind of trail town or hostel that really like sticks out in your mind as a place that, if you are on this trail, or just, you know, you guys have a story of the hostel or the little place that you went to.
Me and Travis talked about the Mountain Harbor B&B.
Yeah.
And John actually said he definitely knew of that place, right? Like,
So I'm just curious, do
places
you
like
have
that.
Well, I knew
anything
that-
that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, I knew of that place in Tennessee that you guys had stayed at because I stayed at the one that was the opposite direction on the road that you come to there. It's called the station at, I think it's 19E. I think the road is 19E, so they call it the station.
Yeah, that actually really rings a bell. 19.
And at that hostel, it's above a bar. And so all these locals come and do karaoke at this bar. And they have this system that you can post it on your social media and have people send you money for your bar tab, or like buy you a sandwich or buy you a beer or something.
I may get on there.
Pretty
And,
cool.
I'll buy some people's bar tab.
And so yeah, this is really close to like Roan Mountain,
awesome.
the Roan
Man,
Highlands.
We stayed at the wrong hostel, Travis.
We missed out on that one.
I know you guys.
That
You guys
breakfast
were.
was pretty good.
You guys were saying it was a dry county, and I was like, I drank a good bit there, just at the bar. But
County and
Yeah,
right
you must
across the
have been
street.
the
It's just
county
they went through the county the other direction to get to the other county.
well, it's funny too because there's this saying, the trail provides, the trail gives you what you need as you're on your journey. And not that I needed this, but at the station in this, area, in Tennessee, I had a package waiting for me. And so as people had come into this bar, they had seen this package and they were like, I guess one of them saw my name or something. And so I get to this bar and I go in to have a drink and to be like, hey, do you guys have a place I can sleep for the night? Because I'm a dirty, gross hiker and I would love to sleep in a bunk bed and take a shower. And they're like, oh yeah. What's your name? They're like, I was Jonathan Cable. And like, Cable. Oh my gosh, everyone's going to be so excited you're here. I was like, why? And they're like, the package, there's your last name is Cable. There's a bunch of Cables in this area.
Oh, wow.
And so that night,
damn.
that night that I was staying at this place, I met all of these people with the last name Cable.
That's crazy.
And I was hearing about apparently when my ancient predecessors came to the States, there were two Cable brothers, and one of them went, I think, to Pennsylvania, and one of them went to Tennessee.
Oh.
And so there were all of these Cables in this area where I was camping, where I was passing through.
Wow.
And it was just really,
That's really
an
cool.
amazing experience that when else would I have had this experience unless I had gone and hiked the Appalachian Trail?
That's funny because when I first learned your last name, I was like, that is such an odd last name. I don't think I've ever heard that before, Cable.
Yeah, I don't know that I had ever heard it. I don't know that I had ever met someone else with my last name.
Really? Until then?
Until this
yeah.
one town
Yeah.
Full
that
of
you were at
cables.
with all the cables.
Yeah.
That's where they've all been hiding.
Yeah.
You just kind of
Yeah.
somehow escaped over time.
Yeah.
You know?
But shit, what was the question?
Andy,
Who cares? That was a great
Yeah, no,
question. That actually answered the question perfectly.
Well, like some of the best hostels.
Some of the best hostels.
Or like resupply
So, like, that-
towns.
That comes to mind. Oh my God, there's there's so many stories to tell. It's impossible.
Yeah, because there's like trail days on the AT. There's all kinds of
I didn't make it. I did go to trail days on the PCT. It just happened to be right when I was getting into Cascade Locks. I hiked the PCT as a flip flop. So instead of doing it all one direction. I did it as a flip-flop where I hiked from Ashland. I hiked from the Oregon-California border north to Canada, and then I flipped around and I hiked southbound, all of California southbound.
Okay. The PCT.
The PCT.
So where and what is the Trail Days thing?
Trail Days was 2-ish weeks into my hike. And I hiked all of Oregon in 2 weeks because it's like 500 miles and it's like the flattest thing I've ever hiked. If you ever want to go do some easy hiking and some beautiful hiking, honestly, like volcanic, I walked by St. Helens. I walked by the Three Sisters, or is St. Helens Washington? Oh shit.
St. Helens is Washington.
St. Helens is Washington. Yep. Well, then I'm still in Oregon. St. Helens is Washington. It's almost right next to Rainier. So imagine I didn't just say that. Oregon was 2 weeks, but you go through the Three Sisters. There's lots of volcanic mountains, big, beautiful volcanic mountains, but the rest of it is just flat. So it's really easy to hike long sections of Oregon on the PCT quickly.
It's good to know.
So yeah, but I was there, and 2 weeks into that was Trail Days, and so I got into Cascade Locks, which is really just this tiny little town on the border of Oregon and Washington, and all of a sudden there were like 1,000 hikers in this tiny little town, and everyone was partying, and they have all of these vendors that show up that, you know, Gossamer Gear and Sawyer and like all of the big outdoor.
Is it just at a certain time of the year they do that?
Yeah, they do it a weekend a year.
Like
they do it on the Appalachian Trail, and they do it on the Pacific Crest Trail
like
Trail
a party
Days.
for true hikers.
Yeah, and a local brewery, Thunder Island Brewery, throws big events, and everyone goes and hangs out, and
like a little spring break going on.
And everyone was like camping on Thunder Island, which is an island just a bridge away from like the coast of Oregon, the on the river between Oregon and Washington.
Yeah.
It was really fun, and I was kind of not looking forward to it because I was 2 weeks into my hike, and I was like, I still want to be out and away from everything. And now I don't want to like take I don't want to take a bunch of time off. But that's what I ended up doing. I stayed in a hotel for a night, and then I stayed on the island for a night.
Might as well, man.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, when in Rome, like it was that kind of thing. So
it's funny because I always think about when me and Travis were doing the Roan Mountain section, like 40-mile section of the AT.
Yeah. By the way, did you guys stay in the cabin on top of Roan Mountain?
We have a funny story about it.
Okay, cool. I did.
Yeah.
I loved it up there.
You loved it?
That spring. Did you get water out of that spring back?
Yeah. Like you kind of had to drop down a little ways.
That spring was a beautiful spring.
The place was awful.
It was a funny. We might as well just say it now.
I don't want to talk about
Did you already tell it on the pod?
Yeah.
Okay. Then don't. We can tell it after.
Long story short, we were on the second floor of that shelter.
Yeah.
And I was like passed out. I always just fell right to sleep. I wake up to Travis trying to put his boot on and like slipped and
I slammed my heel
slammed
down.
his foot into the floor.
Shook the whole freaking
And I woke
shelter.
up and I was like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, there's fucking mice
so
everywhere.
bad.
I'm getting out of here.
Dude,
Yeah.
I couldn't
And so we
handle it.
booked it out of that shelter, set up camp like in the middle of the night.
The Appalachian Trail shelters are pretty mice infested. That's I would suggest to anyone going out to hike the Appalachian Trail, take a tent that you like.
Yeah.
And I didn't stay in shelters often, but the nights that I did, like I can remember mice crawling over my face, and I didn't like
That
it.
is one thing.
I cannot
Like-
sleep.
Yeah, no.
Not that I'm scared of them.
Yeah.
I'd rather
there's
sleep
no
on the
way I'm
ground
gonna
in my
sleep.
tent.
Yeah.
This is a sidebar from what we've been talking about, but I've never stayed in the shelters for that reason. So it is possible to like you can do most of the trail and not stay. Like it's not.
No, you can
that-
do the whole. The
It's
entire
not that
thing.
big of a pain in the ass.
No, I mean you're gonna carry a tent or some kind of shelter either way.
Yeah. Might as well use it.
There are people that won't. I mean, there are people like if you're going out and trying to set a record or something,
Yeah.
you're taking as little as possible
Which
and
is like-
running 50 miles
That's
a day.
anti what we're against. Like we're you know, if we're doing 40 miles, we're going to enjoy those 40 miles. So
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm kind of somewhere in between. I love to enjoy myself, but I also
I got somewhere to be.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm doing like 30 miles a day, and if I'm not doing 30 miles a day, I feel bad about myself. But maybe that's something that's the lesson that I need to learn is like,
And like
Yeah.
we try to do like 8, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles a day.
and some days that's
Oh
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we want to start
that's
late,
killer.
end early,
Yeah.
enjoy it,
Yeah.
you know.
But that also might be the difference between a through hiker and someone going out for like a week.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
As a through hiker, you've got like 2,600 miles to hike.
You got
and,
miles to get.
And it depends on, I guess, I had lots of friends who hiked the Appalachian Trail in 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
So there's a different, I will not profess that the way that I have done it is right. I hiked both the Appalachian Trail and the PCT in 120 days or less. 120 days for the Appalachian Trail, 108 days for the PCT. And I'm not saying that's the way.
Yeah.
If you have 6 to 9 months to spare and you've got the money, like
man.
go out
Like
there
that.
and just chill out.
Like someday I want to do it.
Yeah.
But the story, every time I think of a northbounder, southbounder, was when me and him were doing this section hike, and we were kind of like wrapping around a ridge, and it was one of those where the trail's like halfway between the peak and the valley, and you're just kind of like walking the edge of it.
Yeah.
And I rolled my ankle
Okay.
crossing an asphalt road.
Of course.
And
yeah,
so-
the very first thing.
Yeah. So I kept rolling it, and like this northbound hiker, we only knew this after the fact that he was a northbound hiker, but as he approached us, I fucking fell and rolled my ankle
Rolled
and
it
fell, just
right in
dropped
front
like
of
a
him.
bag of rocks straight to the ground. And he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so like, are you okay?" And we were sitting there, and he's like, "Well, I kind of gotta go." And we're like, "Yeah, dude, fucking get out!" Like it's
He's
cool.
like, leave the wounded, man. I got a mission.
So
Yeah.
every time I see a northbounder, I always feel guilty because I held one of them up for like a split second because he felt concerned about my rolled
Yeah.
ankle.
Yeah, and some of them, like, they would just speed right by it, felt like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Like,
we
they
were
don't have
at,
time to chit chat
yeah,
with
like
everybody they
it
come
was
across.
like I think October we were there, so we were like hitting a few northbounders heading south. It's pretty cool.
There's a certain, and I hate to admit this, and it's said in light humor, but like there's something about being a through hiker that makes you have a certain disdain for day hikers.
Oh no! We get that.
It's
And-
not intentional. It's not personal even. It's
We
just
get
like, oh, you think you're cool out here going for a hike? I've been out here for like weeks or months, and I'm exhausted.
Why are you talking
I
so loud?
totally understand that
Yeah.
I hate when
because
they
we
talk
get
loud.
that way.
Is there a
Drives me
disdain?
nuts.
Like, okay, so if we can all understand the disdain between, a through hiker or even like a week long hiker like we do and a day hiker, is there a disdain between through hiking and like week long hikers? Like backpackers?
Well, here's the thing: is
Like,
that
I
like
wonder.
I was hiking the Appalachian Trail, and a section of the trail in Vermont goes along with the Long Trail, the Vermont Long Trail, which apparently is a great trail.
Oh
Yeah.
damn!
I think it's 200 miles,
write that
200
down.
miles or so,
Yep.
and a section maybe I don't know 100 or 50 miles of it shares the Appalachian Trail, and they were so clean, and their gear was all like new, and like their clothes were all clean, and I was what was I there? Maybe a month or a month and a half into my hike, and I was like,
But that was a hard.
Dude, you're a veteran at that point.
at that
That
right,
is-
like you've already done like a
New recruit.
twice what they've done or something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you've got 2.5 months to go, and they're
They do-
gonna be done
they
in
do
a
look
week.
down on us.
Yeah, so they do.
Yeah. There's levels.
It's not looking
No,
down.
I
it's
bet-
just
I bet
like
hierarchy.
it's just like
Imagine
I
that
have.
there is a hierarchy, like, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You're on trail.
It's just like I have so far to go still.
yeah.
And you guys get a burger so much sooner than I do.
Yeah,
We're at
That's
Waffle House,
that.
man. All right, dudes. We are running long on time, and I know that we could talk about Jonathan's adventures on the trails and the things he's seen and the places he's been.
Oh yeah.
But just like always, we want to get into a little bit of gear talk. But we've been running long, and I think we're going to make this a 2-episode guest appearance. And we're going to get out of here for now. I want to thank everybody for listening. And next week, we're going to have the rest of our conversation with Jonathan, and it's going to be all about gear.
Yeah.
And food.
Yep.
And food.
Near-death experiences.
Yeah, let's get it, dude.
All right. I can't wait for it, but right now, let's get out of here, fellas.
Yeah, we'll see you next
Keep
week.
on Sondering.
Bye.